Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of the Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Central Virginia fishing report with Ethan Martin at TaleTellers Fly Shop. How you doing, Ethan?
I'm doing great today. How you doing today?
Well, I dodged the snow bullet because I'm down in the Carolinas. How much did you get in your neck of the woods?
Oh, well, we did not dodge it. I think we ended up getting somewhere between like 6 and 8 inches in just Lynchburg here. So got a fair amount of snow, and it melted pretty quick. So wasn't like life altering or anything, but it was a fair amount.
Yeah, it's interesting because I took a look at your weather, and I guess we're always good for, a couple weeks like this every winter where it gets really cold. And I noticed that, your lows are kind of consistently in the upper teens and the low 20s, which probably means the fishing activity is pretty much, off for a couple weeks, and it's probably better to be sitting down at the vise.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that is one of the harsh realities, especially for somebody like me who's pretty much a perpetual optimist. When fishing gets like this, when it gets cold and everything, I mean, everything becomes lethargic, and that's bait fish and trout and striper. I mean, pretty much every species of fish becomes really lethargic. And that's it. It's just they're cold-blooded creatures. And when it gets to being almost to freezing temperatures, obviously, they've got to basically shut down to survive it. And then to your point too, it's not the end of the world if you just sit down and tie for a day rather than stomping up through the woods. So there's other things to keep occupied.
Yeah. And I guess I would say too, as you get on the other side of that, you got to remember that as that snow melts, it's going to put really, really cold water in the streams and the river. So, even if it warms up to 60 degrees, right after the snow, don't think that the water is going to be warm like it would be on a kind of a normal, kind of milder winter day.
Yeah, actually, to that point too, there's times where it can actually get colder. Crazy enough, I've been in a couple of rivers before, and I'm one of those nerds that likes to bring a little stream thermometer. And I found that, as the sun went up, it actually was melting even more snow, which was causing the temperature to drop even colder, which I thought was really interesting. I'm sure, there's still places that would have warmed up, like really shallow water and that sort of stuff. But and then the other thing I would add to that is most times I tell people, if the fishing sucks, don't just necessarily give up, but, maybe you hop back in your car and you just start exploring a couple of back roads to find new access points or new places to fish. And the difficulty when we get snow here is we're a little more ill-equipped than, our neighbors up north. And so a lot of our back roads are still pretty rough, especially if you were to go towards the mountains. I mean, I had a friend last week who didn't do what he should have done, and he started going on up the mountains, and they've closed off the parkway, but he basically made it to the same altitude, and he was like, there's frozen ice and falling down timber everywhere and across the roads and everything. So normally when I would tell people, oh, well, if the fishing sucks because it's cold, we'll just go and do a little bit of exploring. That's even something I would say be a little more reserved in, because last thing you want to do is get up the mountains and then, a tree falls behind your car and you can't get back down. You're spending the night on a mountain, sub-zero, or not sub-zero, but sub 32-degree temperatures.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of a related point too, that's kind of an interesting thing to remember in the winter is, a lot of times when it rains in the wintertime, it can actually warm the water up a little bit.
Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy things, that I've always thought about, how nature just connects with so many different things, and it's all pretty much just common sense. It just takes somebody to tell you it, or to observe it and then be like, hey, did you notice this stream gets super cold because it doesn't ever see sunlight? So yeah, it's pretty cool. What can you do when it's snow though? It's a different story, which is what we have. And then potential rain, and if you look at the 10-day forecast, I think it was calling for some rain, which, who knows if that's going to turn into snow or what the heck it's going to do. Because our, you mentioned the lows, but our highs are kind of, everywhere. It's like somebody threw a a dart at the wall and was like, oh, it's going to be 47 on the highs this day and 42 on this one and 28 on this one.
Yeah, it's interesting too, and we're talking about fly tying. I haven't talked to you about this in a while, but are you kind of getting back into your fly tying nights, or is that still kind of on hold, while we kind of work our way through COVID?
So we've actually restarted them, and to be honest, we restarted them in August of 2020. But we've done changes. Probably the reason we haven't talked about it much is because I haven't talked about it much, because we capped the class at 9 people. So that way, with myself, we're 10 people, which is what we can max out at. And so most of our classes, or not most, all of them, are just signups are required, and all of the same principles apply as what previously applied, which is like you don't have to have vices or tools or anything like that. You just show up and we provide all the materials completely free. But the main thing is just, we require signups, and we typically fill up every week or every week that we do them, which is every other week. So it's been really popular. It's been cool to be able to do that in some extent. But it's definitely not, we're not wide open yet due to COVID.
Yeah. And so people can just go to the website and find all the info?
No, actually. So that's the other thing I did. I basically have removed all info, and if anybody watches like our social media feeds, they'll probably see that I never really post about it. And that's because the majority of the time, it's just people that come into the shop and I mention it to them, and then they say, hey, can I come? So we pretty much have just been filling up through word of mouth every week. So if somebody's interested in info, what I tell them to do is shoot me an email or give us a call at the shop, and that's actually going to be the easiest way, because I'm trying not to publicize it too much, so that way I don't have people everywhere that want to come, and then I end up with me accidentally scheduling too many people to show up to one night. So that's what we're doing for now, which is just call or email. It's a little bit of a ragtag way of doing things, but it's been effective so far.
Well, there you go. And folks, we love questions on the Articulate Fly. You can email them to us or send them to us on our Facebook or Instagram page. If we use your question, I'll send you some Articulate Fly swag, and you'll get into a drawing for something cool from the shop at the end of the season. And I don't know if you're going to be shoveling snow, but I'll let you go anyway, Ethan. But why don't you let folks know shop hours and where they can find you and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, so the shop is physically located at 920 Commerce Street, which is in downtown Lynchburg, Virginia. And there's a lot of cool stuff around here. There's cool places to come and get food or coffee or even stay lodging, that sort of stuff. So cool, make a weekend trip out of it or a day trip out of it. If you can't make it to the shop, then you can always find us online at TaleTellersVA.com. Pretty much all the inventory that we have in the shop, maybe not all, but almost all, you can find online that route. And then if there's something that you're looking for that's not on there, you can give me a call or an email, Instagram message, Facebook message, anything like that. I'm the one that responds to everything. So pretty reliable that you can get in contact with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, kind of given the weather forecast for the next week to 10 days, probably a good time to spend some time at your friendly vise. Tie a few dozen flies, folks. And then, when it's warmer, you can get out there and go catch again. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ethan.
Tight lines.